Pay attention to the woman in the gray scrubs. The security camera at Parkview Senior Living captures her at 6:47 a.m. on March 12, 2019. She's carrying a worn canvas bag over one shoulder, a travel mug in her left hand. Her name is Alicia Turner. She is 34 years old. She's walking toward room 217 for her morning shift as a home health aide. This is routine. She's made this walk every weekday morning for the past 3 years. Inside room 217 is William Hargrove. He is 68 years old, paralyzed from the waist down after a car accident 4 years ago, and entirely dependent on round-the-clock care. His adult children haven't visited in 8 months. Alicia Turner has become the most consistent presence in his life. At 9:15 p.m. that same evening, Alicia Turner will leave Parkview for the last time. Within 48 hours, her phone will be turned off forever. This is not a story about theft. It's a story about murder. Alicia Turner grew up in Youngstown, Ohio. She was the first person in her family to attend college. At 22, during her junior year at Kent State University studying nursing, her mother was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. Alicia dropped out to become her mother's full-time caregiver. Her mother died 6 months later. Alicia never returned to finish her degree. Instead, she became a certified home health aide. The work paid $14 an hour. It was difficult, physically demanding, and often thankless. Alicia was excellent at it. In January 2016, Alicia was assigned to William Hargrove through Compassionate Care Home Health Agency. William had been paralyzed in a drunk driving accident the previous year. The driver who hit him was never caught. William's spine was fractured at T7. He would never walk again. William's wife had died of a heart attack 2 years before his accident. His 3 adult children, Marcus, 41, Jennifer, 38, and Stephen, 35, initially helped with his care. But within 6 months, their visits became sporadic. By the time Alicia was assigned to William, they rarely came at all. William Hargrove was alone. Alicia Turner understood what that felt like. Over the next 3 years, Alicia became more than William's caregiver. She read to him in the evenings. She brought him books from the library on topics he loved: Civil War history, vintage motorcycles, jazz musicians. She learned his routines, his preferences, his moods. She knew when he needed silence and when he needed conversation. By late 2017, their relationship had changed. William looked forward to her arrivals. Alicia stayed past the end of her shifts to talk. They discovered they shared a dry sense of humor. They argued about politics. They watched documentaries together on his small television. In March 2018, William told Alicia he loved her. She didn't respond for 2 weeks. She was scared of losing her job. She was scared of what people would think. She was scared of the 34-year age difference, but she also knew what she felt. In April 2018, Alicia told William she loved him too. On September 14, 2018, Marcus Hargrove made an unannounced visit to Parkview Senior Living. It was 8:30 p.m. when he entered room 217. He found Alicia sitting on the edge of William's bed. Her hand was resting on his. They were watching a Ken Burns documentary. They were laughing. Marcus stood in the doorway for several seconds before either of them noticed him. The room went silent. Alicia stood up immediately. Marcus demanded to know what was happening. William told him the truth. They were in love. Marcus accused Alicia of manipulation. He accused her of exploiting a vulnerable man. He threatened to report her to the agency and have her license revoked. William told Marcus to leave. Marcus refused. William repeated himself, his voice shaking but firm. Marcus left. He slammed the door hard enough that staff down the hallway heard it. The next morning, Marcus filed a formal complaint with Compassionate Care Home Health Agency. The complaint alleged that Alicia Turner was financially and emotionally manipulating his father. The agency opened an investigation. 2 weeks later, after interviewing William, Alicia, and Parkview staff, the agency cleared Alicia of all allegations. They found no evidence of misconduct. William had been evaluated by an independent physician and found fully mentally competent. The relationship, while unusual, was between 2 consenting adults. Marcus was furious. On October 3, 2018, he filed a petition to have his father declared mentally incompetent. The petition was denied after William passed a comprehensive psychiatric evaluation with perfect marks. Marcus, Jennifer, and Stephen Hargrove had exhausted every legal avenue to separate their father from Alicia Turner. They had failed. On November 18, 2018, William Hargrove updated his last will and testament. The document was prepared by his attorney of 22 years, Mitchell Brennan. Brennan would later testify that William was of sound mind, clear in his intentions, and emphatic about his wishes. The new will made Alicia Turner the primary beneficiary of William's estate. The estate was valued at $8.3 million, accumulated over William's 40-year career as a commercial real estate developer. His children, Marcus, Jennifer, and Stephen, were each left $50,000. The remainder went to Alicia. The will also contained a protective clause. If Alicia were to die or disappear under suspicious circumstances before William's death, or within 5 years of his death, the entire estate would instead go to the American Cancer Society. His children would receive nothing. On December 2, 2018, Marcus, Jennifer, and Stephen received notification letters from Mitchell Brennan informing them of the will change. None of the three responded to the letters. None of them contacted their father. 6 days later, on December 8, 2018, Marcus Hargrove made a phone call that would change everything. Marcus called Jennifer first. The call lasted 37 minutes. Jennifer called Stephen. That call lasted 19 minutes. 2 hours later, all three siblings and their spouses met at Marcus's house in Shaker Heights, a suburb of Cleveland. According to later testimony from Jennifer Hargrove, who accepted a plea deal in exchange for her cooperation, the family discussed their options. They had already tried legal intervention. They had tried complaints. They had tried declaring William incompetent. All had failed. Marcus raised a question. What if Alicia simply disappeared? Jennifer testified that at first, no one took him seriously. They thought he was venting frustration. But Marcus continued. He reminded them of the protective clause in the will. If Alicia died or disappeared under suspicious circumstances within 5 years of William's death, the money would go to charity. But William was in poor health. His doctors gave him 2 to 3 years at most. If Alicia disappeared now, while William was still alive, the clause might not trigger. The will might simply revert to the previous version. Someone needed to ask the question out loud. Stephen asked it. Was Marcus suggesting they kill her? Marcus didn't answer directly. Instead, he mentioned that his wife's cousin, Vincent Moretti, was a former Marine with military security contacts. Vincent owed Marcus a favor. Jennifer testified that the room went quiet. Nobody objected. Nobody left. They discussed logistics. They discussed money. They discussed timing. By 11:45 p.m., the family had made a decision. Marcus would contact Vincent Moretti. The payment would be $75,000, half up front, half after completion. The money would be withdrawn in cash from Marcus's business accounts to avoid direct traces. On December 11, 2018, Marcus Hargrove met Vincent Moretti at a rest stop on Interstate 80. Marcus handed Vincent an envelope containing $37,500 in cash. Vincent accepted. No contract was signed. No words were recorded, but the transaction was captured on the rest stop security camera. Before the killing, there was an attempt at a different solution. On February 14, 2019 Valentine's Day, Marcus approached Alicia in the parking lot of Parkview Senior Living. He was alone. He had a proposition. Marcus offered Alicia $250,000 in cash to leave Cleveland and never contact William again. He would wire the money to any account she specified. All she had to do was disappear from William's life. Alicia refused immediately. Marcus increased the offer to $400,000. Alicia refused again. She told Marcus she loved William. The money didn't matter. She would never leave him. Marcus walked away. According to phone records, he called Jennifer 11 minutes later. The call lasted 2 minutes. The next day, Marcus called Vincent Moretti. That call lasted 4 minutes. Alicia Turner had refused $400,000. She had proven that she wasn't after William's money. She had proven that her love was genuine. That refusal sealed her fate. Between February 20th and March 11th, 2019, Vincent Moretti conducted surveillance on Alicia Turner. He followed her to work. He followed her home to her studio apartment in Lakewood. He documented her schedule, her routes, her routines. He identified her vehicle, a 2007 Honda Civic, silver, license plate JKL 4829. Vincent compiled his findings in a notebook. The notebook would later be recovered from his apartment by investigators. Inside were maps, photographs, and handwritten notes detailing every aspect of Alicia's daily life. The level of detail was chilling. He knew which grocery store she visited. He knew which gas station she used. He knew she stopped at a coffee shop every Friday morning. On March 12th, 2019, Vincent was ready. At 8:47 a.m., Marcus Hargrove sent a text message to Vincent Moretti. The message read, "She leaves at 9, silver Civic, plate JKL-4829, tonight." That text message would become Exhibit A in the prosecution's case. March 12, 2019 was an ordinary Tuesday for Alicia Turner. She arrived at Parkview at 6:47 a.m. She helped William shower and dress. She prepared his breakfast. They talked about plans for the weekend. William wanted to go to a jazz concert at the Bop Stop. Alicia said she would arrange transportation. At 3 p.m., Alicia's shift ended. She stayed late as she often did. She and William watched Jeopardy together. At 9:15 p.m., Alicia left room 217. The security camera captured her walking through the lobby. She was carrying the same canvas bag. She was smiling. It was the last time any camera would record her alive. Alicia walked to her car in the parking lot. At 9:23 p.m., according to her phone's GPS data, her phone was turned on and moving south on Chester Avenue. At 9:31 p.m., her phone stopped moving. The last GPS ping came from an industrial area near East 55th Street. At 9:32 p.m., her phone was turned off. It never turned back on. Vincent Moretti had been waiting in that industrial area for 3 hours. When Alicia's silver Civic turned onto East 55th Street, he pulled his vehicle in front of hers, forcing her to stop. He approached her driver's side window. Alicia recognized him. Vincent had previously introduced himself as a family friend during one of his surveillance visits to Parkview. Vincent claimed there was an emergency with William. He claimed William had been rushed to the hospital. He told Alicia to follow him. Alicia believed him. She got out of her car. Vincent grabbed her. Alicia fought. She was 5 feet 4 inches and weighed 118 pounds. Vincent was 6 feet 2 inches and weighed 210 pounds. The struggle lasted less than 30 seconds. At 9:47 p.m., 15 minutes after Alicia's phone went dark, Vincent strangled Alicia Turner to death in an abandoned warehouse on East 55th Street. Vincent left her body in a storage room in the warehouse. He took her phone, her wallet, and her keys. He drove her silver Civic to a long-term parking lot at Cleveland Hopkins International Airport and abandoned it there. He wiped down the interior for fingerprints. He left the keys in the ignition. At 11:15 p.m., Vincent called Marcus Hargrove. The call lasted 18 seconds. Marcus confirmed receipt. The next afternoon, Marcus withdrew $37,500 in cash from his business account. 2 days later, Marcus and Vincent met again at the same rest stop on Interstate 80. Marcus handed Vincent the second envelope. Vincent walked away. The surveillance camera at the rest stop captured this transaction too. William Hargrove called Alicia's phone at 6:30 a.m. on March 13th. The call went straight to voicemail. He called again at 7 a.m. Voicemail. At 7:30 a.m., William called Parkview's front desk and asked if Alicia had called in sick. She hadn't. By 9 a.m., William was panicking. Alicia had never missed a shift without calling. She had never failed to return his calls. William contacted Compassionate Care Home Health Agency. They had not heard from her either. At 10:47 a.m., William Hargrove called the Cleveland Police Department to report Alicia Turner as a missing person. On March 14th, Marcus Hargrove visited his father at Parkview. The visit lasted 12 minutes. Marcus told William that he had spoken to Alicia. Marcus claimed Alicia had taken the $400,000 and left Cleveland. Marcus said Alicia wasn't coming back. William didn't believe him. He told Marcus to leave. Marcus insisted he was telling the truth. William asked Marcus to leave again. Marcus complied, but doubt had been planted. For the next 5 days, William Hargrove waited for Alicia to call. She never did. On March 19th, 2019, at 4:22 a.m., William Hargrove died of cardiac arrest. The official cause of death was Takotsubo cardiomyopathy, broken heart syndrome. His doctors attributed it to severe emotional stress. William Hargrove died believing Alicia Turner had abandoned him for money. He was wrong. Marcus, Jennifer, and Stephen Hargrove attended their father's funeral on March 23rd. They expressed grief. They accepted condolences. They did not mention Alicia Turner. On March 25th, Mitchell Brennan, William's attorney, contacted the Cleveland Police Department. Brennan informed detectives that Alicia Turner was the primary beneficiary of William Hargrove's $8.3 million estate. Brennan also informed them of the protective clause in the will. If Alicia's disappearance was deemed suspicious, the estate would not go to Marcus, Jennifer, or Stephen. It would go to the American Cancer Society. Detective Raymond Hayes was assigned to the case. Hayes immediately flagged the Hargrove siblings as persons of interest. On April 2, 2019, a maintenance worker at an industrial warehouse on East 55th Street discovered Alicia Turner's body in a storage room. The body was in an advanced state of decomposition. Dental records confirmed her identity. The coroner determined that Alicia had died of asphyxiation consistent with manual strangulation. She had defensive wounds on her hands and arms. She had fought for her life. Detective Hayes intensified his investigation. On April 8th, forensic analysts recovered DNA from ligature marks on Alicia's neck. The DNA matched Vincent Moretti. On April 9th, Detective Hayes obtained a warrant for Vincent Moretti's phone records. The records showed multiple calls between Vincent and Marcus Hargrove in the months leading up to Alicia's disappearance. The records also showed Vincent's phone GPS, placing him at the warehouse on East 55th Street on March 12th at 9:31 p.m., the exact time and location Alicia's phone went dark. On April 10th, Detective Hayes obtained warrants for Marcus Hargrove's financial records. The records showed 2 cash withdrawals of $37,500 each, one on December 10th, 2018, and one on March 14th, 2019. Both withdrawals had been made from Marcus's business accounts with no corresponding business expense. On April 11th, Detective Hayes obtained surveillance footage from the rest stop on Interstate 80. The footage showed Marcus Hargrove and Vincent Moretti meeting twice. The footage showed Marcus handing Vincent an envelope on both occasions. On April 15th, 2019, Vincent Moretti was arrested at his home in Parma, Ohio. He was charged with first-degree murder. On April 16th, Marcus Hargrove, Jennifer Hargrove, and Stephen Hargrove were arrested. They were charged with conspiracy to commit murder and solicitation of murder. Vincent Moretti's trial began on November 4th, 2019. His defense argued that he had acted alone, without instruction from the Hargrove family. The jury did not believe him. The prosecution presented the text message from Marcus to Vincent. She leaves at 9. Silver Civic, plate JKL-4829. Tonight, they presented the phone records. They presented the financial records. They presented the surveillance footage from the rest stop. They presented Vincent's notebook with detailed surveillance notes on Alicia Turner. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. On November 19th, 2019, Vincent Moretti was found guilty on all counts. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Facing overwhelming evidence, Jennifer Hargrove accepted a plea deal. She agreed to testify against Marcus and Stephen in exchange for a reduced sentence. Jennifer's testimony provided the final pieces of the conspiracy. She described the meeting at Marcus's house. She described the discussions. She described the planning. Marcus Hargrove and Stephen Hargrove went to trial together. The trial began on February 10, 2020. The prosecution's case was devastating. The defense argued that Marcus had simply been trying to protect his father from exploitation. They argued that Alicia had manipulated a vulnerable man. The prosecution countered with evidence of William's mental competency evaluations. They presented testimony from Parkview staff who described the genuine affection between William and Alicia. They presented the fact that Alicia had refused $400,000 to leave William, proof that she wasn't after his money. On February 28, 2020, the jury found Marcus Hargrove and Stephen Hargrove guilty of conspiracy to commit murder and solicitation of murder. Marcus was sentenced to 35 years in prison. Stephen was sentenced to 30 years. Jennifer Hargrove, as part of her plea deal, received 25 years. None of the Hargrove siblings will be eligible for parole before 2045. On March 20, 2020, Mitchell Brennan officially declared Alicia Turner's death as occurring under suspicious circumstances. The protective clause in William Hargrove's will was triggered. Marcus, Jennifer, and Stephen Hargrove received nothing. The estate, all $8.3 million, was donated to the American Cancer Society. The money the Hargrove siblings killed for went exactly where they had tried to prevent it from going. They destroyed their entire family for an inheritance they would never receive. Alicia Turner was buried in Calvary Cemetery in Cleveland. Her funeral was attended by 217 people, former patients, co-workers, friends, and Parkview residents. William Hargrove was buried beside her. His children did not attend. In 2021, Ohio passed legislation requiring enhanced background checks and monitoring for family members contesting wills on grounds of elder exploitation. The law is informally known as Alicia's Law. Alicia Turner died believing William would be waiting for her at home. William Hargrove died believing Alicia had abandoned him. Neither knew the truth. The security footage from March 12, 2019 still exists. Alicia Turner walking through the Parkview lobby at 9:15 p.m., smiling, carrying her canvas bag, walking toward her car, walking toward a man who had been paid to kill her. She never made it home.